North Korea has possibly the strangest economy on Earth. Since the end of the Korean War, the Hermit Kingdom has been ruled by the Kim dynasty, cut off from the rest of the world. As a result, we know very little about the inner workings of the North Korean economy. You might know that the economy is dominated by the state and that many North Koreans live in dire poverty. But the true nature of the North Korean economy is likely stranger. Recent evidence collected from interviews with North Korean defectors suggests most North Koreans live under conditions that meet the common definitions of modern slavery, which include forced labor, debt bondage, and serfdom. And just a caveat for this video on sourcing, we don't have very much information about North Korea. What we do know is based on interviews with defectors. And specifically for this video, I'm drawing on 50 such interviews conducted by the NGO Walk Free. It's a good report, I've linked it in the description. Many of these defectors have been outside of North Korea for 5 to 10 years, so the information is likely outdated, and that's just the reality of trying to understand what's happening in a country that's so cut off from international media. Take all of this with a grain of salt. And before we get into how slavery works in North Korea, I want to give you some background on how the North Korean economy works, because it's really weird and most people don't know very much about it. The key moment in the trajectory of the North Korean economy was a horrific famine that took place from 1994 to 1998, which came after the collapse of the Soviet Union and meant the end of critical food supplies. Depending on who you ask, between 250,000 and 3.5 million people died in this famine. This famine caused the collapse of the public distribution system, which was how most North Koreans got their food rations. The failure of the system also meant that many factories just stopped producing anything. Without the raw materials needed to make their goods, there was nothing for them to do. The problem is that in North Korea it is illegal to be unemployed. Citizens who go 15 days without a job are sent to forced labor camps. Here's a direct quote from a defector. "If you're unemployed, you'll be sent to a labor training camp. You are given 15 days for the procedure, but anything beyond that and you'll be considered unemployed." Some workers get around the requirement to be employed by bribing a company to register them there. These workers are commonly referred to as 8-3 workers. It's also extremely difficult for workers to switch jobs. Changing job requires special authorization from officials, and many jobs are effectively inherited, with children working in the same professions and factories as their parents. So if it's illegal to be unemployed, and also to change jobs, then North Koreans are being forced to work. Furthermore, the penalty for poor work performance is a cut in the food rations that workers received. According to the Walk Free report, and I'm quoting here, if their quota is not met, it could mean that no food rations are given. In one respondent's report, a fatal accident happened at work, and as a result, food rations were withheld from those thought to be involved. Workers are also frequently not paid. As I said earlier, the public distribution system collapsed in the 1990s. This means that a lot of workers will go extended periods of time without receiving either pay or food rations. Here's a quote from a defector on this. "I did not receive compensation. My salary was 2,000 won per month, and you cannot even buy one loaf of bread with this money. However, I didn't even get that money. From my workplace, they were taking money to support shock brigades, and as a result of deducting such amounts from our salaries, we didn't receive any money." Here's another quote, this time from the Walk Free report. "Many of the respondents we spoke to said that they had not received anything resembling proper pay for the last 20 years. Instead of a salary, workers tend to receive a food ration for themselves and a smaller portion for family members." In these conditions, most North Koreans are earning the means to sustain themselves in their free time by participating in an informal economy. This is a situation that fits a very basic definition of slavery. If workers are forced to work under the threat of imprisonment and are frequently unpaid, then they are working under conditions of slavery. And this should be obvious, but also when North Koreans are interned in forced labor camps, they are also working under slavery conditions. Their freedom is restricted and they are compelled to do hard manual labor. Often the only crime of which they are guilty is unemployment. As a way of bringing in more revenue, and specifically foreign currencies, the government of North Korea has sent workers to China, Russia, Kuwait, and other countries, a practice that has increased under the Kim Jong-un regime. Since UN came to power, an estimated 50,000 to 100,000 North Koreans have been stationed abroad, typically for 3 years at a time. North Korea has even sent workers to the Ukrainian territories occupied by Russia. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, a source in North Korea told Daily NK that about 150 new North Korean regions were sent to the Donbass last January. And the government keeps most of the wages earned by North Korean workers abroad, who are typically left with just 15 to 20% of their actual income. In total, overseas workers have earned the government $740 million between 2017 and 2023. Conditions in overseas work camps are harsh. Workers often build their own accommodation, work long hours, and are blocked off from the outside world. They are also made to attend quote-unquote education sessions in order to ensure they remain loyal to the regime. Despite this, the opportunity to earn a much better wage makes these assignments desirable, and it is widely understood that workers bribe their way onto the detachments. And here's a defector describing his experiences while working overseas in China. I worked around 14 to 16 hours a day. When I worked late, it would be until 2 a.m. Then I had to go back out at 5 or 6 a.m. If I calculate how much I got each month in dollars, it was about $10 to $50. It depended on how much work I got. If I didn't have a lot of work, then it would be $10. There were also times when I didn't receive anything. But there is evidence that the attitudes towards overseas work is changing among North Koreans, as pay is increasingly being withheld, and many workers find themselves overseas for much longer than they had originally expected. To quote one defector, now people don't want to join overseas construction companies, as they hear people who go abroad die from accidents or aren't even able to bring back money that they have earned because the state takes a lot of that money. The workers who are currently abroad have most likely been abroad since the start of the pandemic. North Korea had extremely strict border controls during COVID and did not bring worker camps home. This meant that many workers have been working abroad for 5 or 6 years when they were originally meant to be abroad for only 3. There is also some evidence of unrest among workers currently stationed abroad. Ko Young-hwan, who defected to North Korea in the 1990s, spoke to the BBC about an incident he had heard about one of the camps in China. He heard that workers had learned that a year's worth of unpaid wages had been transferred to war preparation funds in Pyongyang. And this is a direct quote. He says they got violent and started breaking sewing machines and kitchen utensils. Some even locked North Korean officials in a room and assaulted them. Despite the unrest, the government in North Korea appears reluctant to bring overseas workers home. In 2017, the UN Security Council banned North Korea from stationing workers abroad and ordered all countries to repatriate them by the end of 2019. Now, North Korean workers are still abroad in Russia and China, but it's believed that China might be unwilling to take on more North Korean workers in defiance of international sanctions. So the government in Pyongyang is unwilling to bring current workers home because it wants to continue to get that revenue. It's worried if it brings the workers home,